We're in the South Central Agency on Aging out of New Haven. So what happens, you put in the application, it's kind of a bare bones application, it just says what are the total assets that the person has, what is their gross income from Social Security or pension. So that's put on the form, and then pretty much within a week or so, there's some contact from one of these agencies. So the agency contacts the individual, or perhaps it's an adult child of the individual who's put in the application, and they send someone out to see that person. So what they're going to look at is two things. They're going to look at the income, well, I should say the financial eligibility, and they're also going to look at the person's functional eligibility. So they want to make sure this program is needed. So they will go to the place where the person lives. They will ask them about their health, what their difficulties are. And in fact, I just actually had one of these experiences because I have a client who is not married, has no family, no close family in the area, and her power of attorney. So I said, no, I think we really should have one of these assessments done to see where she is, and also determine if there's some maybe help that she should be getting. So the person comes in, they work for this agency, they have an application, they want to know what is your gross Social Security, what is your gross pension, what kind of bank accounts do you have, how much is in there, do you have any life insurance with cash value. So it's very similar to the process that Liz described, but you can have a little more assets in some sense because I believe, I gotta look at it because I never remember it, the program limits, unless they've changed, which I hadn't noticed. Yeah, it's for an individual, it's $35,172. So you don't have to be down to $1,600. That's pretty good. And if it's a couple, this is for state funded. We didn't get to the other program, but state funded. The couple can have $46,896, almost $47,000 in counted assets. Again, similar to what Liz mentioned, the house, as long as it's you have one home you're talking about here, your residence, that's not counted. Also, a car is not counted. And your personal property in your house is not counted. So we find that sometimes this is quite useful because we're going to be able to get some respite for a caretaker spouse. It's probably more difficult when it's a single person, like the lady I'm talking about. But maybe she just needs someone to do, because of her heart problems, some of her homemaker chores. But she is still capable of handling her meds and preparing meals, etc. So they'll come in, they'll assess the need, and then they also will provide the actual agency that will do the care. Remember, these are state dollars, so you can't really just decide you want, to have your family member paid under the program. They need licensed people to, carry out these services. The other thing they do look at is income. So in the case of the lady I'm working with, she has Social Security and she also has a pension. Because her income is greater than $1,948 or $45 a month, she's going to have to pay for some of the services. What they do is they look at the gross amount of your income and they allow you to deduct the medical expenses that you have that you're paying, such as premium for supplemental Medicare insurance. So that can come down, that can come off the gross. Also, if you have some out-of-pocket prescription, or you pay for prescription Medicare RX coverage, that can come off. So in the event the person's income is below the $1,945, then you won't have that cost sharing in that sense. But the state also requires, I believe, that 7% of your services you would contribute to. So your monthly service. So if they determine, you're going to have somebody coming in 3 days a week for a couple of hours a day, then that part of those services there may be some cost sharing. Now the other program that they have is it's going to provide a lot more care. So it's called the Medicaid Waiver Home Care Program. It funded by Medicaid, so that means that, you know, the federal government is sharing in the cost of this program. As a result, if you have a single individual, they've got to be down to $1,600. So it's very similar to what we talked about Medicaid in a nursing home. If you have a single person, they have to have no more than $1,600 of counted assets. So they can be living at home, the home equity is not counted. On top of that, they have the $1,600. So their income, there is a cap, however, on this program that says, look, if your income is above, I think it's maybe $2,200. Let me take a look here. It's just around, it might be 21 and some change. Yeah, $21.99. Okay, so that's okay. So basically 22. So if your gross income is more than that, you can't qualify for the program. But good news is you actually can, because the state of, well, actually federal law changed probably 10, 15, 20 years ago to say that certain kinds of special needs trusts can be used to help somebody qualify for the Level 3 Medicaid waiver program. Now, why do we want that program? Because it's going to provide a lot more care. It can provide up to, I think, just under $6,000 a month in care. And that may really be how somebody can stay home. It's not 24/7 care, but it's a lot more care, and it allows them to stay at home. So this is all very good. So what happens is, if I have a client who's going to be higher than the income level for this program, their assets are fine, but their income's too high, I can put them, I can get them to qualify by having them set up a special needs trust called a pooled trust. So a pooled trust is an irrevocable trust that you would set up through the, usually through a plan of Connecticut. It's a nonprofit agency and a trust company, and what they do is they pool the people that participate in this, pool their money and invest it. And in the case of an individual, what they would do is say, okay, in order to get this home care program, I need to reduce my income down to below the $21.99 that we're talking about. So let's say they're over by $500 a month. They can essentially create a plan trust. There is some cost to it. There's upfront costs that you have to pay plan, but it's, you know, they're modest. And plan sets up a trust whereby every month you will send, somebody will be sending that $500 to plan. Plan will then use $100 for their administration costs, but the rest of it they can pay a bill other than a medical bill. So they could pay things like utilities, or maybe insurance, or something of that nature. They could pay every month, say auto insurance or something if somebody has a car. Or real estate taxes, though we don't like that one too much, because I don't think too often the towns are set up for getting monthly real estate taxes necessarily paid into them. I'm talking about escrow. So we're able to allow that person to qualify for this program because we've been able to reduce their income under the cap that allows them to get this program. And I think that's pretty great. So the Medicaid waiver program for couples works very much like what Liz just explained. They use the same spousal impoverishment rules you just heard. So in essence, someone who needs the home care program might be able to, the spouse might be able to keep the maximum of $119,000 as long as the spouse who's getting the program is at $1,600. Or, whatever that number turns out to be. It could be that you can only keep, say, $50,000. But it allows that spouse who needs the help at home to stay at home. And certainly that's our objective, if we can, is not to put someone in an institution if it's not necessary. Now, some other things just to bring up. There's also a veterans program called Aid and Attendance. So people who are veterans or were married to a veteran, maybe they're the widow of a veteran, They may also be able to get a payment from the Veterans Administration every month if it's necessary for them to stay home safely. The program limits there, the asset limits there are different. They're generally $80,000. Depending on how old the applicant is, it may be less, because if somebody is, say, 93, they may not be able to keep the full $80,000 in assets. The veterans, what they would do is, depending on whether it's the veteran or the surviving spouse of the veteran, or veteran and a spouse, there's a monthly amount, a maximum that they will pay. But it does help people quite a bit to stay home. Now, this payment can be taken into account by the state when they're looking at the, say, the waiver program. They count some of it. It's kind of mysterious to me because I think the law says that they're not supposed to, but our experience as lawyers here is that the state will count all but the aid and attendance benefit itself, which is like a certain dollar amount, because they look and say, well, we weren't talking about the regular pension that a veteran might get. So we're talking about the aid and attendance, that's all we will disregard. But what I find it's really ideal for is someone who might want to move into an assisted living facility. And here's how it works. Let's say your income is $2,500 a month. Well, usually, under most circumstances, a VA benefit isn't available because they say, well, your income is too high, but you get to reduce your income by your medical expenses. So things like your Medicare supplement payment, your Medicare RX premium, but also if you're in an assisted living facility, you can deduct the entire cost of the assisted living facility as medical. So it really helps people afford assisted living in some cases, and that's a great thing. Now, with veterans, they do not have a look-back period yet. So you can transfer assets to reduce down to $80,000 without that becoming a problem. However, remember, if you also need to go on Medicaid later on for, say, a Medicaid waiver program, that transfer is going to have to come back. So, it can be a little misleading to talk about that. There's also another program the state has called Money Follows the Person. This program was devised because it was felt that sometimes someone might end up in a nursing home for a period of time and really could transition back out, and why can't the state spend the same amount of money they were spending on someone in a nursing home in the community? So with Money Follows the Person, the program requires that the person have been in a nursing home for at least 3 months. It used to be 6. We rolled that back to 3. Now, if you're in a nursing home, though, for, say, a Medicare rehab, that does not count towards the 3 months. That's my understanding of the program. Reverse mortgage, that's another way to pay for care at home. I think reverse mortgages sometimes get a bad rap. I don't think they're a bad thing for some people.